After a 9-year layoff with Global Sciences, was back with us in '91, and we're more than happy to welcome again. Listen real closely, please, because he's got an enormous amount of material to share with you. Let's welcome George Merkel from El Paso, Texas, and other places.
Hello. Greetings to everybody. Before I begin the lecture, I'd like to make a few announcements. This book is available now. Ray Blasi has a table back there representing our Canadian affiliate. So you can inquire about it. We also have a recent release from the American Health Foundation and an article submitted to Nutrition that investigating our materials, our products, is effective against cancer and also restoring circulation. It's a very good antioxidant. And our Canadian health inspection qualified our manufacturing plant as the best. We got in top grade. Now we will begin this lecture with a picture. Let's put it.
I've asked him to have you let him know if you cannot hear him. His voice is not projected. Chairman, so.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay, a little louder, George.
Now we have to focus it better. That's better. This picture has come from planet Mercury. The tree is the tree of manna. The tree is made from crystal instead of leaves in growing crystal.
You want to use that pointer?
Yes. The little boy
Press right here.
Oh, okay, thank you. This little boy is a crystal boy. The people up on planet Mercury made out of crystals. They don't have bone structure, they have crystal structure, they light people. The reason I brought this picture or showing this picture, because this is a product which I discovered in 1990. And it began with the live crystal. And live crystal led me into the biological machine that made from genetic crystals. And that further allowed me to capture the life energy from the sun and form the crystals, the unified crystals, which will be the topic of this discussion. I will try to put as much in as I can, and the rest will be presented at the workshop tonight. Let's go for the following picture. This is the factory in Canada that is producing the various products, capturing the life energy from the sun. And I will discuss that in more detail also in the workshop. Now, this is a picture from our sun, and it's indicating that's the beam of light that it's coming off. And there is a lot more to it than that beam of light. And you notice here that it's also bending. There's reason for them why these circles are formed on our sun. Now, this is my picture, removing the light. And you can see that there are other components is being teletransported from the sun all through the solar system, and we're receiving that down here on Earth, and the components and the life force and crystals which actually coming through is being captured, and that's how it's delivered down here and our system capturing it. These crystals are in unified order. And once they're in unified order, they come alive. If these crystals are mixed with water or dissolved with water, the water will have a unified structure. The restoring the life energy in the water itself, and the water will assume the tetrahedral structure. This again comes from planet Mercury, where the water sprouts turn into a circle, just like those light crystals on our sun. That's the characteristics basically of the crystals or materials in unified order. Once a crystal are in unified order, they come alive and they absorb life energy. Of course, I must foretell here that all matter all through the cosmos is made from the breath of God. That's the way I call it. The gravitation, anti-gravitational wave imploding and converting energy into matter. It begins with neutrino and then imploding to graviton, and from graviton to photons, light, electrons, and so on. So once a matter is in unified order, it's automatically become alive. And this is why many life forms exist in our solar system. Matter of fact, there is no one planet, there is no life. But some of the life forms we are not accustomed to because they're not exactly like us. Like most of the life forms, they don't have digestive system. But I will get into more detail on this in the workshop and show you people of different kinds and settlement and tribes this evening in the workshop. These are the crystals which have been captured from the sun and then reproduced, put them into unified order. One thing is very important because we inherited from the cosmos the unified order crystals in our system, but we have a very, very small amount of it. Our DNA in our brain and in our blood, the porphyrin. The porphyrin, the most important crystals in our system because those crystals are carrying the force of life. Now, in the plant is chlorophyll. The only difference between the two that the plant has a magnesium in the center on the pyro ring, and in our porphyrin we have the iron. By the way, I may mention this, that now there are a lot of companies, pharmaceutical companies, pursuing my work 10 years ago, studying the porphyrin structure, and they already found out that if they remove the iron from the porphyrin will pick up the energy, and that energy is used to release singlet oxygen that will kill the cancer. And I was very much surprised that they took even my pictures out from the Tesla magazine, which I published 10 years ago, and now it's in the current Journal of Science. Here, the picture is the characterization of porphyrin and how the porphyrin works, but I can get into that later on because I don't like to interrupt the lecture because we don't have enough time. Now, these crystals, once in unified order, they also teletransport. Okay, we can synthesize these down in Earth, and they will teletransport just like they teletransport from the sun to here. And you will see later on how we're receiving crystals from the sun. Now, this crystal you just seen, the same crystal has been produced from the beginning of time. This is 12 billion years ago from Hubble telescope. But of course, these are very large, huge crystals because these are the origin of the formation of the sun and pre-galactical time. The Hubble, when delivered these pictures, this was only a small dot. But I have a special way to magnify by reworking the pictures through interference, toroidal interference, and clear it up and so enlarge it, and then you really can see what are behind of all those light patches and dark patches when they are cleared up. But I think it's very interesting because it's the same structure. This in the laboratory, we're reproducing I reproduce the same type of crystals that the tree of manna is producing. This again done in a solar synthesis. And as you see here, when you have the crystals in unified order, there's always one characteristic, the face of a dragon. But I will talk more about the dragons because there's many different kinds of dragons. But this basically is inherent to the unified order, the unified structure. This face appears on all genetic material. Matter of fact, you will find these faces in your brain because we have crystals in our brain in unified order. Now, here, as you can see, the unified order, okay, how the faces are being produced and why it's inherent in the crystals. So the 2 cross shifted 45 degree represents the pyral ring. The pyral ring is the basic structure of the chlorophyll and the porphyrin. And they are in unified order. There's basically 2 types of crystals. The 4+1 system, when 4 gravitational waves and 4 anti-gravitational interplode and forming neutrino, and that is the structure of neutrino. And that's basically the signature of cosmos, and that represents the 4+ system, which representing also the force of life. The second system is the 6+1. We're getting to it in a minute. Now here you can see the polar arrangement of the quadrupole of the 4+ system, which is very important because that's the basis of building a quantum generator to produce light from graviton. This is a pyral ring. You see the pyral ring has the same structure as the neutrino. And of course, you will run into this type of structure every time that you enter into unified physics and unified mathematics. Now, the Sumerian civilization in Mesopotamia left behind a lot of seals and engraving seals. Their language was picture writing. You can see here they're representing, this is a gold piece, 7,000 years old, showing the 4 gravitational, 4 anti-gravitational wave interlocking and forming the 2 cross 45 with 45 degree shift. That's the porphyrin structure. And below here, they're showing all the waves that 4 of these put together is representing force of life. And this figure over here, they tell you the what we call sacred geometry, but this is unified physics. So they were very, very aware the 6 system, the 4 system, and the combination of the 2. Because in order to create life, you need physical and you need spiritual. So you have to interplode the pyral ring structure with the 6+1 structure, which represents the physical matter, and that's how life is created. Now, is showing water, what happens really to water when you put them into unified order. This is the 6+1 system, but as you dissolve the crystals in water, make a water solution, you will see the interaction, re-energizing of the water, and actually you can measure the gravity from the size of these interaction at the surfaces. Excuse me, can you? Here you can see it much better because actually you can see the Star of David in there. See all these little triangles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, regardless where you go, because this is unified water. Without unified water, the genetic process cannot take place inside our nucleolus or nucleus of our cells, because that's prerequisite to replicate the DNA. And basically our problem today that we are contaminated because we're living in the sewer. The whole world has been turned into a sewer with all the free radicals and chemicals. So if you don't have pure water, you're introducing genetic defect because that will determine the copying the proper, clean, pristine structure of the DNA. So you will start introducing defect lines, and then defect lines then will allow to free radicals to attach to either protein or nucleotides in the DNA, and that brings into a lot of problem. Here again you can see further, how the activation, and if you can see, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's in a tetrahedral structure. So what happens to the water? You're shifting the dipole moment and energizing the water. The Indians used to say that white man makes that water, and it's very right. It's very true. Now we can add that energy back into the water. Now, if we take unified water crystals and saturate the water, and also in gray matter, you will form a crystal that will absorb the light. That's very important because these unified water crystals, if you take out the center part of from the porphyrin, either the iron or the magnesium, then this crystal structure become a light energy absorber. That's the way these alien people live. They live off light. That's their staple. So they don't need they don't have any they don't need metabological system, and they don't need they don't need to eat because they live off light. When we convert the water to that state, then you can see the water molecules will pick up the light and will deliver the light to our genetic system. This is why many observers from all over the world, when they were studying our material, when people were consuming some of the food product we're making, that their blood has been filled with energy, a lot of biophoton emission, because the product and the water, if it's energized, which our product helps to put the water back into the proper structure, it does that. This is very interesting. Sideway, please. This is very interesting because this is also from planet Mercury. You can see there's a storm going on, and you can see the lightning. But these are all crystals further down. And of course, the water in the planet is saturated with crystal because basically there's a lot of the crystals and the material on that planet, a lot of material crystal exists in unified order. But when this lightning hits the crystals down here, it breaks down the lightning into light. Light, electrons made from photons. Now, I put together the quantum generator to convert gravitons into light, and light into electrons. So an electron's made of light. So you can break down the electrons into light. So that's what the crystal does. So what you're really doing, you're reversing the process, and you actually can tap into 0-point energy. You can see when the tree is made from crystal because all the leaves are crystal. It's a little person in here. But when the lightning strikes, the tree will extract the electrons, but also turn it into light because the crystal will begins to absorbing the light, and you can observe that. Now this is a sequence, the same lightning, and you see what happens. So actually, it lights up everything and absorbing the light and lead it into the ground too, because the electrons always look for the least resistance. But most of it is picked up here by the tree and converted light, and the rest of it goes into the ground. That's also going to be acting like a battery, which will re-emit light later on. You will find it very interesting on the workshop how these people light up like a light bulb when they get the proper energy level. Now, this is from it's a prehistoric picture, Egyptians, and what it tells you that life energy coming from the sun and colostrum crystals originate from the sun. That's why they put the breast over here to show it that the crystal that the breast is producing when the female, when the woman is in the stage of 6 months pregnancy, begins to feed through the lymphatic fluid and the blood through the umbilical cord for the development and also protection of the fetus in the womb. And later on, when the umbilical cord is cut, the first milk which the baby gets is getting the colostrum crystals, which not only help the stimulating biological process for fast growth, but also producing blood platelets because the little baby is independent now, and he doesn't get the mother blood circulation anymore, so he has to produce her own. But it's very interesting because at the same time, it brings in the immune protection and so on and so forth. But now we can produce the same colostrum directly from the sun. So the Egyptians knew it, that the life force and the life energy come from the sun. And the life force and the life crystal, which comes from the sun, that's why I called it life crystal originally. Now I call it unified crystal because it has been unified. In the early stage, it was not unified. But I had to have the biomachine to be able to unify it. Now it can be produced, and eventually it's a pure crystal, it's life itself. So it's genetic materials are in pure form. Of course, if you take these crystals, for example, in vitro, and we run some experiment, we put it into the blood, it will multiply the blood and multiply blood platelets and crystallize the blood. So it's basically the genetic process. Now, here you can see when it has been put into the blood and stimulating the production of platelets in vitro. These are crystals. Actually, these are blood crystals that has been grown into very large size, because once you take out the iron from the porphyrin, and you can start crystallizing, can make it very large crystals. But that goes the same for the plants. The plants, you take out the magnesium and you make the very large crystals, unified crystals. Unified crystal always picks up the unified structure, so that's automatic. These are crystallized colostrum. So when you make colostrum, all we need to take the biomachine and take the holograms, the hologramic information of the crystal, which actually delivered by the breast, and then we can reproduce that by capturing the life energy on the sun and using the biomachine to manufacture those crystals. So that can be producing a crystal form, then it can be used as a nutrients, not only for the babies, but also for adults. And of course, everybody knows, it's very well known, that cholesterol will stimulate the immune system and reinforce the immune system. That's why the babies are protected and the mother is protected while they are breastfeeding. These are just more the same, showing some structures, and these pictures got in there. This actually belongs to another section because this has been brought back from stardust. I got some interstellar stardust from NASA, and I brought the life back from interstellar dust. Contains a lot of life. So you can reproduce those life forms here on Earth. Of course, in cellular form or in very primitive form. Now, once you have a genetic crystal in unified order, you see the Star of David. That's the Star of the Cosmos. The Sumerians gave the Star of David to the Semitic people when they gave them the assignment to leave the world and keep order in the world. But that refers always, the Star of David, to the sixth system up here. And down here, proteins has been put into the sixth system, Star of David. So that's the protein has been put into superlattice order. That's one of the bases to make nanotech system. Just a minute, please. Nanotech system that you can build from protein. You can build production factories because the biomachine will encode the protein factories you build in unified order, and they will reproduce any genetics you want. So you can use these protein factories, which already existing because I work with it for years now, and you can reproduce any type of cells, or you can reproduce organs, reproduce baby hearts or baby lungs, or in vitro in the laboratory. So this protein in superlattice order is extremely important and very high purity. Just one more minute, please. This one, the middle picture, is the 4+1 system. This all alive. These are crystals. Has been grown in the unified order. Every time you genetic crystals you grow in unified order, you always get exactly the same picture what you do by mathematics and physics. So it verifies the whole system that it's correct. Now this is very interesting because this is also the pyro ring. It's not here and here. And I reproduced this in the lab. And now when we go to the next picture, this represents unified order. You see what porphyrin structure, 1 cross, 2 cross, okay? And if you look at this now, I always like to show this because whoever built this in Brussels for United Europe or NATO knew unified physics and had contact with aliens because this represents unified physics. And that has been built in 1949, and it stands in front of NATO building in Brussels. And I reproduced it in genetic with unified order. So whoever did that knew unified order, unifying the world. That's the circle. Actually, you can produce all this circle the same way. That's the way genetic material spreads when your crystal grows, like the circle represents. So somebody knows what's going on. This, if you look at this picture, these are Sumerian pictures. Turn it around, please. The Sumerian pictures representing here protein, because these fish means protein. So these strings are protein. But the 4 men in the center represents the pyro ring, because 1 cross, and the second cross comes here. It's the porphyrin structure. So they were teaching here of taking protein and put it into unified order, and the porphyrin structure. So this is the type of engravement they have. Now, if we look at the unified order, unified math and physics, we can also prove it physically, because in mathematics, you take 4 squared plus 1 squared, 2 times 4 plus 1 is 27. That's EMUX. That's energy mass equivalent. But now, if you want to fill a square or a cube with marbles, because unified order, everything is spherical, then you have to put them in superlattice order to get the maximum numbers in there. And regardless how big or how small, it's in relation to the size, there's always going to be 27, and you can count them out. So physically, you can show it in atomic structure, subatomic structure. Nature always put the maximum mass to minimum space. And that goes exactly according to the equation. And then, that's the way you build the strings, the cosmic strings, which the whole cosmic is made from strings. I call them dragons because they have many different kinds and they have different faces, so they are different type of dragons. Dragons represents the underworld. That's before light was born. Now, the upper equation is the force of life. It's 27, and 2 times 27, 54, and 4 times 108. If 27 cube root, that is 3. 3 times 9 microtubule is in our centriole, in our genetic system. Now, the lower one is the 6 plus 1. The first one, if you want to add the interference points, then you have to square it. It's 49. But when you implode it, you take 6 gravitational waves and implode it through the 7th, then it's 51. And the Sumerians always said that 6 plus 1 is equals 51. And yes, it's correct, because 49, squaring it, plus 51 is 100. 100 over 2 is 50 in cosmical term. Now, if you know this 51, that's area 51. That's not a coincidence. Area 34 is not a coincidence, because 51 divided by 3 is 17. 2 times 17 is 34, making light. And flying saucers are powered by crystalline light, which you will see in the workshop, and you will see the flying saucer itself too. But this basically the cosmic cosmic math. We have the 3 system and the 9 system. The 3 system becomes very important because the 4 system and 2-3 system builds the quantum generator that makes light, and then light makes electron. That's very unique by itself. The mass is the 6 system and the 9 system. The 9 system comes out as 102. But then you can combine the 3 system with the 9 system to unite it, which is when it comes to the formation of life. And these just basically the basic numbers. If somebody works with this system, and because this will replace all the mathematics in nuclear physics and subnuclear physics and unified order and future technology, this is going to be the mathematics. But this automatically you have to memorize, and it's very easy to memorize because it's a sequential order. So these are the most important number which interrelate. So in order to, normally you spend 6 months on computer to figure out on energy levels in the subnuclear world. You can do it in seconds in your head without a computer with this type of math. So it's simplified, it's a cosmic math. Now the Sumerians already 9,000 years ago or 7,000 years ago, actually this is older than 7,000 years, this artifact, they have the same thing, the pyro ring, the 2 cross 45-degree part, and now you can see the 7 times 7, 49, and the diagonal is 51. So they use this little chart the same way as use the mathematics. The Sumerians, they always express themselves in pictures. You take the pictures apart and magnify them, and then you start understanding what they are saying. The pre-Incas are sculpture writing. All the gold pieces, sculpture artifacts, they all talking to you. And I can master both languages, 95% efficiency. And when you go out of space to some of the archaeological finds and some of the civilization using the same system to communicate. This is the quantum generator. You see what you take the 2-3 system and hook it in to the 4 system. That's the neutrino system. That's the very basis of building electrons. Now, if the matter part, because neutrino has 2 parts, matter and antimatter. If the matter, that's why it's neutrino. Now, if the matter parts, you hook in this to the matter parts, you have electrons. If you hook it into the antimatter parts, you get the opposite. You get a positron. This is why when neutrino interacts in nuclear reaction with hydrogen, you have a neutron or proton. You get electron or positron, depending which direction the reaction goes. That's very important when it comes to the fusion reaction in the sun. Now here you can see again, you take the electrons, you add them up together, and you start taking the light actually forming cubes, crystals. And those crystals are imploded into forming the electrons. Sun makes electron crystals, light crystals, proton crystals, and you will see evidence for that. A lot of documentary on that showing. And again, you know, if you take the spin of the photons, it's the same as the spin of a twin sun. The suns come in 2s and 3s and 6s. Our sun, our second sun, is invisible because it's virgin sun. It does not have the fusion reaction going. So it's a cold sun, and apparently that's where the Sumerians came from. That could be understandable because the Sumerians were 2 crystal people, and I have evidence for that too. And they stopped over Mercury and Mars before they came here. And the artifacts you will see on the workshop is matching exactly with the life forms and people existing today out there. This is when you're imploding the 2 systems. So you have to take the 4 system, 6 system, and imploding. You get the cubic structures. But the 3 system, as you can see here, imploded with the 6 system. That represents life. That's when you get into the life process. Now, this again, you see the teletransportation of the crystal out in the sun. And of course, you get a lot of the colors come from different frequencies depending on the molecules the crystal built from. This again, prehistoric civilizations like the pre-Incas, they knew the whole system. And if we have pictures coming up here in a minute showing the same on the pictures, the whole genetics on the ornaments. They show these are gold pieces, and these are not Incas. These are alien pieces. These have been brought in prehistoric times. Some of them goes back 150,000 years. Now, not only the pre-Incas, basically the Incas and the Mayans and the Olmec came from Mars. The Semitic people, and they came from the 12 planets, which they stopped in Mercury, and the black people, the Negroes, they came from Mercury. Matter of fact, they have much higher order of civilization on Mercury than we have here today, the Negroes on Mercury. Now, of course, people are mixed there. They live in a harmony, white, blacks, and animals. It's very interesting, the whole community, the way they live. Now, these are the original life crystals. Okay? When life crystal came alive, begin to form strings, just like in the cosmos, because that's the basic law of unified physics and unified order, that it's a spherical arrangement, and it's automatically growing the strings. And then, of course, in a unified order, you grow the spiral ring. Everything comes automatic, because that's, I always refer back that the breath of God is unified. Now, when you take the look at the live crystal, when it comes alive, you can see how the strings begins to grow. This represents life itself. Everywhere we look at, from the cosmos, from the galaxies, from the solar system, the star system, and planets, everywhere, this is the system. And it's very unfortunate that that live crystal has been banned without knowing really what it is, whoever banned it. But that live crystal is really gave me the jumping board to go into very high order of physics. So I said to myself, why does the DNA has to be in double helix? So that's when I separated the DNA strands and took them apart and rearranged them and put them into a substrate, lay them down in a superlattice order. So this is live crystal when it came alive. Once it has been, the DNA has been converted, or whether it's plant DNA or human DNA, doesn't make any difference. The crystal comes alive, and the crystal grows this little string, a little horde, but they're really strings, you know. But in this case, they turn into a cytoplasmic factory, and the crystals begins to reproduce themselves. And that really gave me the idea to build the biomachine, which you just took off, just a minute, build the biological machine. These are made from DNA. And because they're made from DNA, depending what type of DNA you make them, they can reproduce that life from A to Z. Anything in that life form that this biomachine has been produced from can reproduce that life form, any cell, any part, including the fetus itself. The biomachine itself has a built-in cytoplasmic factory. The central processors are over here, and that will process the information. They pick up the hologram or the force of life, whichever genetic material or molecules you use, and then it will reproduce it. One thing is very important here, which I will show on the workshop. The crystal people on Mercury and some other planets in our solar system, their head is attached exactly the same way, and they have the biomachine in their back. The two sides goes into their arm, the bottom goes to the buttock, and this part is going to their head. And that's basically, they have the biomachine in their body. And they are made from dark matter and white matter, so they have dragons and have white matter. Now, this piece of necklace the two of them is identical. These are artifacts. Now, one of them is about 150,000 years old. This is pre-Incas. These Incas could not make these, and this is made from gold and lapis lazuli. One of them is the real, the other one is synthetic. And this is the synthetic. Now, every one of these contains a biomachine inside. This is this piece over here made from gold. If you open it up, there's a biomachine inside. Now, this is an artifact left behind from when the people landed on Earth, because we had several landings over here from outer space. And this, again, just a biomachine enlarged. It's out of focus, but it's all right. It can go on from here, because we have seen the other picture. Now, this is very interesting. This came from a very old grave, 12,000 years old, from the cypress forest, the prehistoric Egyptian. They were cavemen, and they used iron oxide, brown iron oxide, to paint these pictures on clay plates. I colored it so they can see it better. Now, this was done by cavemen in the cypress forest 12,000 years ago. Now, these were surviving Atlanteans. They become cavemen because when Atlantis went down, but they were survivors. But they wanted to they wanted to record what they knew. They knew everything about unified physics, biomachines, the engine of the biomachine, the heart of the biomachine over here reproduced, and it's unbelievable that it survived. This is a biomachine which is producing seeds of life. You can see these little round little marbles there. They're really genetic. DNA coming out on this side. And biomachine comes in many different forms. They're all individuals. There's not one that is identical to the others. They're individual like us. And depending on whose DNA you make it from, and how they're going to look like and how they're going to function, they never look the same. There are always some little changes, just like we are. And this goes both for humans and also for plants. At one time, we've been together with the plants. I talked about that in the previous lecture. Now, these are the gene diskettes. You know, these are the one the biomachine also can pick up. As you can see here, right here, and that's where the biomachine is reading it, and then reproducing whatever information in that gene is, and then reproducing that genetic. It's very important that when you work with this system, we have done some work at several universities and institutions with mice and animal tests, and one of the program was to GSR mice, which is a dying species because they all have a genetic defect in producing breast cancer. So that was one of the area that we did a lot of investigation, and we corrected the genetic defect. And from 6 mice, we got 270 mice by reproduction without the genetic defect and free of breast cancer. This was done about 5-6 years ago. But again, what the biomachine can read the genetic information and forward in a forward or reverse encoding. Now, as you know, that the problem is when the free radical goes on to the protein or the nucleotides. So since your enzymes are produced from proteins and proteins, when you're reproducing your proteins, the messenger RNA will take the defective information to produce from amino acid sequence the protein. It will introduce the free radical into the protein. And once we put the protein into unified order and pull off the free radical, now your enzyme will be corrected, so the enzyme can go back, and when he's going to replicate that DNA, is going to kick out that free radical, and genetic defect is eliminated. Now, this is a Sumerian seal. These are the boat people, and you can see all these has been reproduced in vitro in the laboratory, because that's what they were really talking about in the genetic process. All the Sumerian seals are all biophysics and cosmic physics. And I reproduce these plants, but they are very highly magnified in the genetic process. Just 1 minute, please. Down here is a seed of life, which this artifact over here, representing the seed of life, came from the Harappan civilization, and they originate from Mercury, and that actually the material itself was brought in with them from Mercury. There are several artifacts I have in possession from the Berlin Museum in Europe and the museum in Munich in Europe and other museums I work with, verifying that these are not material available here on Earth. It came from outside. But I have also other proof to prove it, that it's originating from. These are from dragon people. But they knew how the life began, because this very same crystals has been found by deep core drilling recently inside our Earth. And they dated it for 3.7 billion years. Now here you can see the Sumerian seal again. They representing here the part of the biomachines and the genetic process that I reproduce in vitro in the laboratory. This is all from genetic material, okay? And building the biomachines. Here you can see, that's a very famous one. You can see the plasmid, which is the circular DNA. And here you can see it's a cytoplasm, and here they're growing the DNA. The cytoplasm, it's a primitive order. I all reproduce this in the laboratory. This is the way when life began, the early time, and start producing the DNA factory, so you can mass produce DNA, as a matter of fact, any genetic material. This is really a rolled up cytoplasm. It's like a roll of paper. And that activated with the plasmid DNA, which carries the information, and then this transferred the information to the cytoplasm, and the cytoplasm then is going to reproduce the genetic material. We talked about crystals coming from the sun. This is a very interesting one because these are the northern lights. If you look at the northern lights, you will see all these particles. Now, of course, you know, northern lights, a lot of electrons are coming in and a lot of interaction with the air. So you produce a lot of different product when you're reacting with the air. But what's very interesting that you have a lot of uniform crystals all around the trees, because the crystals, they contain the pyro ring, the chlorophyll, okay? And that's attracting the life energy what's coming from the sun, and also recrystallizing large crystals which are delivered from the sun. These are being teletransported, and the northern light is really produced by the reaction of these crystals. But before we get any further, now, when you see the slug which is coming, this is heading the northern light. This is actually gray matter. Gray matter, when breaks down, is producing the unified order crystals, light, lots of light, but actually that's the way aliens building flying saucers and vehicles and equipment, everything is grown. But at the same time, you're producing dark matter, and the dark matter is absorbed through the North Pole, actually is neutralizing some of the gravitational forces at the North Pole and entering into the core of our Earth. Now, I will show more picture on these in the workshop to show how we are being injected with dark matter at the North Pole, and our Earth is warming. So it's not a coincidence what's happening, and I will explain it to you. I will show you how the dragon is sitting dragon, because dark matter is black dragons, you know, has a black dragon face. And they're transferring dark matter into our globe at the North Pole, and you can very clearly see it. Now here you can see again northern light, but look at these crystals. These are all unified order coming from the sun. Look at the strings, the structures. These are the you know, the sun is fueled by strings. I will have spectacular pictures from the sun, how it works, and showing this. The fuel on the sun is manufactured inside the sun and brought to the surface. And there's an endonuclear and an exonuclear reaction on the surface of the sun, moderating and keeping the surface cool. And the sun is alive, just like every planet and in every solar system and every star system. And all planets in the solar system originates from the sun. The sun gave birth to all the planets. They were born in the same place. And you will see a lot more of these documented in very detailed, solid documentary on showing the details that the same fuel, what is manufactured inside the sun, is also exist in some planets within the solar system. And of course, all the gray matter is coming from there. Now, these are dragons. You see the dragons, the dragon face, they call. Now, these are the worst kind. because they are the defense. When they hit hard. This you can see here, releasing the crystals up here. They're releasing light crystals. It's actually this segment been taken out from a spaceship. And you will see more very detailed on that spaceship that has delivered a diplosion bomb to Jupiter. I call it Spaceship Shoemaker. I have detailed pictures of where it come from, how it emerged through a black hole, how approached Jupiter, how it opened up, and how it released the bomb. It's very, very clear. But anyway, so these dragons comes in many different types. This is a fire dragon, so they breathe fire. This is the type we have in the sun. They fuel. They're sacrificial. They dissolve like ice cube in the water on the surface of the sun, and cooling the reaction, moderating the reaction. When the surface and the sun, the reaction takes off, the dark matter, this dark matter dragon, they decompose endothermically. So the dark spot on the sun is cold. You even have water condensate forming miniature seas in the cold spot. The cold spot also opens up tunnels going into the sun, the interior. And the exterior, where the fusion takes place, most of the light is really coming from light crystals that manufactured. The hydrogen comes up in gigantic solid tubes with the electrons in the center in superlattice order. So these tubes are hexagonal. All the protons are outside and the electrons are inside. So the electrons all concentrated inside as these tubes are coming up. And as they are the exothermic nuclear reaction, which these components will trigger when they start interacting with neutrino. But the black dragons, they are the endothermic, so the two of them is balancing each other. And it's very interesting because one is produced on the west side of the sun inside, the crystals, the fuel, and the dragons are produced on the west side. And the west side, where we had this huge explosion, there's a lot of reason for that too, why that happened. And you will see the pictures in detail how our sun is operating and how it's functioning. This is a parking flying saucer, real one. Now you see these grooves, that's where the light crystal are powering and spinning the saucer. It's anchored, it's right here, it's in the terminal, it's on the ground. You can see the terminal running around. You can see the legs over here. Okay, this could be brought back a little focus because it's the picture is too big. But anyway, from distance you probably can see it much better. Okay? It's a gigantic one. I would estimate that it's probably five-story high, and it's parked on Mercury. Now Mars has flying saucer too. I have pictures which I will show on. This I just show it briefly. These are civilizations living outside of Earth. So I will go into detail on these on the workshop. These are the crystal people. This piece of artifact is a pre-Inca. You can see it's made from gold, but if you look inside of this artifact, you can see the pyral ring, the two cross inside. And what it represents is the ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, the three chromosome plus a sex chromosome. You need 4 chromosomes for the creation of life. And these are the supercoils here. These supercoils, they enter into the center where the follicles are being produced in the female, in the ovaries. So that's really representing the left side and the right side of the ovaries. And on the bottom, in the male, 4 chromosomes is required to make life. Chromosome 14, 15, 16, and either 21 or 22. Those are the sex chromosomes. Now, these are made by nanotechnology. It's put together molecules by molecules. It's unbelievable how they were able to do it. This was not done here on Earth. This also was brought into, and this particular piece just been recently sold for $650,000 to somebody by some auction. But I had the original pictures or original digital information on it from the museum in Columbia. Now this you see very clearly here. Now this is, you cannot see this from outside. This is inside. So I have a system I can penetrate through everything. I can look inside the Earth, I can look inside the sun, I can look inside. It's like a penetrating scanning using field interference. It doesn't use any light or doesn't use any electron. Electrons are dinosaurs, it's too big. And it penetrates like neutrino. And actually that's what is being brought out from from inside of the sun. That's how I got those pictures. Now these are the one they were producing the follicle based on that artifact is right in the center, which I reproduced in vitro in the laboratory. These is in the artifacts. You can see on the artifacts all these round genetic strings because they all talking physics, biophysics or astrophysics. Now that has been reproduced in the lab, both the left and the right-handed one. This particular one is the Shrine of God, showing the seed of life. The Egyptian tried to reproduce these 400 years before Christ. And I found the original Sumerian as small as my fingernail, magnified it 1,000,000 times, restored it, and then reduced it in size, and it's like brand new. This is not a very clear picture, but this representing a protein factory that can produce any organic molecules based on unified protein. This is a protein is encoded to make heart. Take a heart cell, the information transferred to the protein. So the protein falls into the shape of a heart. And then from that shape of a heart, within 48 hours, you have a baby heart. And you can see it very clear. It did not close yet because it's only 48 hours. It's of the genetic process very fast. You can see all the DNA the protein was producing, and from that came the heart. This is a synthetically produced ovum. Taking an ovum, taking the picture of taking a follicles, and transferring the information into biomachine, we reproduce. Down here on the lower pictures, you can grow spermatozoa in vitro in the laboratory, like the Dutch growing tulips. You're just encoding the biomachine, and you begin to grow them, and you can see them swinging and alive. And this over here, the biomachine up here, producing crystals. That crystal will reproduce spirulina. Any genetic material can be put into a crystal because these crystals are in unified order. So they're producing hyperdimensional hologram. The interference points will pick up the information, whatever is exposed to. When you make the biomachine will transfer that information. Once you transfer that information into the crystal, that crystal will hold that information forever. You put it in water, and life will evolve. What you put in, the life come out from the crystal. So you can reproduce the life form. We ran out of time, and I'm very sorry I can't go on. And I thank you very much for your patience. And I hope I see as many as possible on the workshop. It's going to be a very exciting evening because I will have the time and I can go into detail. And you will be able to ask all the questions and we can discuss it. And I'm sorry that I don't have enough time to get into discussion now. And thank you again, and God bless you all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
George didn't, of course, even get into his anti-aging study and his products and that sort of thing, which you can find out about also at your at the workshop tonight. Now, I'll be back here in about 8.34 minutes to see a world premiere presentation. The first time it will have been presented publicly anywhere. A little relaxation music from Dave